Hey guys, Zen here, and today I wanted to go over a massive game update that's going to be making its way to Rainbow Six Siege. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, recently Ubisoft put up a blog post detailing some balancing that's going to be coming very soon here. So to start things off, they're going to be nerfing Cav, and they're going to be reducing her Louisiane's pistol damage from 99 all the way down to 65. Now, at first glance, this is a major nerf to this operator. I think a lot of people in the higher ranks already look at Cav like she's not that strong and kind of easy to single out, while if you're a person that kind of hovers from silver to higher golds, she's still a monster and she's still definitely a threat on defense. Now, yes, going from 99 damage all the way down to 65 is a big nerf to this operator, but if you look a little bit deeper, you could make the case that nothing has changed at all. So with the pistol at 99 damage, it still requires 2 shots to down the enemy, but in the event that you're only able to get 1 shot off, you leave your enemy at 1 health, which basically means that it'll require them to be reset to continue on with the round. So they're gonna have to backtrack. In some cases, they may have to find a soft wall to kind of shoot each other through and down and then pick back up. Now, during this event, while they're occupied with the reset, it opens Cav up for the opportunity to get 2 kills instead of 1. And again, they're most likely going to push back through the same way that they came, and Cav can kind of come at it at a different angle. Now, this may sound elaborate, but this happens, and this gameplay loop with Cav is definitely something that she can take advantage of. Now, in this same scenario with the pistol at 65 damage, if you're only able to get that 1 shot off, say they have a teammate around them that's shooting back at you, there's a lot of suppressive fire on you, and you're only able to hit them once, that leaves them at 35 health, which basically means they can continue to pursue and they don't necessarily have to go back and get that reset. This also means that when Cav goes and runs away, they can kind of hold their ground and again continue to move forward and continue to progress, which makes Cav have to think a little bit more creatively to get her kills. But in both scenarios, it still only requires 2 shots from Cav to down and of course 3 to kill. So as far as her gameplay loop, that really hasn't changed, and it's still going to require Cav to use 2 shots to get off an interrogation and use her best utility. However, there are some other changes that are going to be paired with this. For instance, there's going to be some adjustments made to the damage drop off to align with other pistols for consistency. They'll be reducing her magazine size to 12 from 15, increasing the recoil to make chaining shots at long range more challenging, and increased hipfire spread to reduce viability of spamming non-ADS shots. So basically, how I look at this is Ubisoft trying to hone in on exactly what is the specialty of each of these operators. And with Cav in particular, it's about surprising and startling your opponent up close and really making them feel uncomfortable when you're on the map. I think now more than ever, if you're going to engage in long range gunfights with Cav, you're gonna have to bring her SMG, which I know is not a fan favorite in the meta right now, but I think with the damage nerf as well as the damage drop off of the Louisiane pistol, it's just not reliable at those long ranges. And again, I think Ubisoft is honing in and focusing on the fact that this is a very stealthy and up close operator. So I want to know your thoughts on this news. Do you think that this is way too much of a nerf for Cav, or do you think that she's still going to be played the same way that she currently is and nothing has really changed? Let me know in a comment down below. Moving on, we have a significant buff to Clash. So her secondary, the SPS MG9, will be getting an upgrade to full automatic fire mode from 2-round burst fire mode. It'll be updated with a recoil to align with other full automatic weapons, increased total ammunition to 161 up from 121, and an increase to damage to 33 up from 30. Now, I honestly believe that this is going to fundamentally change Clash as an operator, and I think a lot more people are going to opt to pick her with this change. I was someone who always used the pistol as the secondary, mainly because I just didn't like the 2-round burst of the SPS, and it also has somewhat of an awkward recoil pattern. But now that this thing is fully automatic and can kind of be treated like a primary for this operator, I think Clash can reliably move around the map with this thing out and her CCE on her back. At this point in the meta, where she stands now, you almost never switch to your secondary because it's almost imminent death. The CCE switch time takes a little bit too long, and both of the options right now as far as weaponry just aren't reliable and aren't super powerful against the assault rifles of the attackers. Now, when Clash was first being revealed, one of the biggest points that Ubisoft wanted to make was her ability to kind of roam around the map by herself. She has impact grenades, and she can also be in places that no other defender defender can be because she has that CCE shield. But with all of the nerfs that have happened to her recently and the fact that the attackers can run up on her really quickly now, she really can't roam by herself and she almost always requires someone to be near her. So with this change, this is going to make Clash a lot more self-sufficient, which I think is crucial to this operator's success and is also really important for her pick rate. Now, even with this change, I don't think that you Clash mains should rely on this SMG. First and foremost, Clash is a shield operator, and so while that CCE shield is extended, I still think it's vital that you do not pull out your secondary in some attempt to get a kill. I still think it's core to Clash to be the best at resisting the attackers and make it really difficult for them to push in the direction that they want to. But I am curious to know how much this change will affect this operator's pick rate. When Grimsky first came out and when she was first released, you saw her almost every single round, but then when she was hit with all those nerfs, she no longer was being picked, and when the pick rate data came out, she was in the category of underpicked and too weak in the meta. So with this change and her being a lot more self-sufficient and having really one of the better SMGs on defense, I really think it's going to change this operator in a big way and a lot more people are going to opt to pick her. Next up, we have a buff to Caveira. So his AUG SMG will be seeing a 33% increase in ADS time to align with other SMGs in the game. Now, basically, since the release of Operation Wind Bastion, a lot of people in the community have been saying that Caveira's SMG is one of the weakest weapons on defense. It's got low damage, a pretty slow fire rate, and overall a slow ADS time, so it felt kind of sluggish and heavy to hold and move around, and on top of that, it just wasn't that strong of a weapon. But with this change, I think it's going to make it a lot easier to lock onto your opponents a lot faster and give it a little bit more of an edge against the shotgun. I think right now, especially if you're on PC, the shotgun is definitely the meta, but with this increase to the ADS time, I think it's going to make this AUG a lot more viable of a weapon. Now, I do really enjoy this AUG mainly because it has basically no recoil and all the bullets fly straight. And of course, given the fact that I do main this operator, I'll definitely be trying this change out and hopefully be using this AUG a lot more. Last up, our final balancing update is going to be a small nerf to the MP5. They're going to be reducing the damage to 27 from 30. Now, of course, this has to do with Doc and Rook. They have access to the MP5 on the defensive side, and I think this has a lot to do with their pick rates. If you're playing ranked, you're almost guaranteed to see Doc, Rook, or sometimes even both on the defensive side each and every round, and I think a lot of that has to do with the consistency of the MP5. It's been here since the beginning. It feels great to shoot. It has a really easy to learn recoil pattern, and of course, it has access to the ACOG scope, so I think it's just a weapon that a lot of people are really comfortable with. Now, I think a few things will happen as a result of this change. The first is I think that Mute's MP5K will see a little bit more use because as far as we know, that damage stat will not change and it will remain at 30, as well as Echo's MP5S. So I think that those two weapons may see a little bit more play in the meta, but the more interesting thing that I think will happen is you might see some more P90 use as a result of this. Now that the MP5's damage will be under 30 and the P90 sits at 22, so not that far off, I think you might see some more people opting for the higher fire rate and larger mag of the P90. Now, I've always been someone who's enjoyed the P90 every time I've used it, but I think its biggest downfall is its recoil pattern. It feels really random and it kind of goes all over the place, but when you do finally master its recoil pattern, it can become a headshot machine. So I think overall you might see more P90 used and you might see some other weapons being brought into the meta as a result of one of the greatest weapons on defense being nerfed. As far as Doc and Rook as operators, I don't think they'll be going anywhere anytime soon. They're 3 armors on defense, they have great gadgets, and they have access to the ACOG scope, so they're able to hold those tight angles that some of the other defenders really can't. So I think that both of these operators will remain really solid picks in the meta, and again, this change is really minor, so I don't think it's going to change much for these two. Now, as far as balancing, that's really everything, guys. Those are all the changes coming to the operators in the game, but it should also be noted that this is currently live on the test server and has not made its way over to the live game yet, so some of this stuff could change. Of course, these balancing updates aren't set in stone. Ubisoft is always looking for feedback, so I think it's really important to keep that in mind. But that's everything, guys. That's a massive game update making its way to Rainbow Rainbow Six Siege. Now, of course, I want to hear from you. What do you think of the nerf coming to Cav? And do you think you'll be playing any more Clash with the most recent buff? Let me know everything in a comment down below. If you did enjoy this video, please drop a like and subscribe with notifications if you're new. With that being said, it's been Zen. Hey, I'm out.